Hi, this is Jeremy Kellett, Director of Recruiting here at Oakley Trucking, and I'm your host for this podcast. This is the Oakley Podcast, Trucking, Business, and Family, and we are glad to bring you some good information every Wednesday. We have a new episode that comes out, so we appreciate you guys checking it out and following us. And this week is no different. I hadn't done one in a while on freight in-house. What's going on at Oakley, talking to the operation managers, trying to get their thumb is on the pulse of how freight is happening and what we're doing every day, every week. Get a little look at maybe what, we're halfway here through 2023, so we kind of get a look from them at what's going on the first half and maybe what to expect the second half. So we're going to talk to Nick Crisco and Shane Smith. They've been nice enough to sit down with me in the middle of their hectic afternoon and talk about some of this stuff, because we're also going to cover just a few things and not just get too deep, but communication is very critical. Customer service is real critical. And then we're going to hit a nerve with you about hauling the weight. What's been a little topic here lately, so we'll talk about that too. But first, let's do an Oakley update sponsored by Aero Truck Sales.
Aero Truck Sales has been in business for over 60 years and a longtime partner of Oakley Trucking and the Oakley Podcast. Trey Visor and Keith Wilson do a great job at putting you in the right truck to fit your needs and our needs here at Oakley. They carry all makes and models to choose from with on-site financing through transport funding. So whether you're a seasoned owner-operator or a first-time buyer, be sure to contact Keith Wilson at Aero Truck Sales at 573-216-6047 and tell them you heard it on the Oakley Podcast.
So Oakley update, right now there's a lot of, I was talking to JP from Safety, and right now there's a lot of people taking riders with them, most of them kids out of school, taking them with them for the summer. And JP was talking about it, and he needs a day notice. You've got to get the passenger authorization form filled out before you get them in the truck. Don't get them in the truck, whoever your passenger is, for a day or two, and then call for the authorization form. We need it ahead of time before they get in the truck. It's basically, we can email it to you, DocuSign. You sign a little DocuSign email, and you're good to go. We can fax it to you if you're in the area. Come in the office and get it. It's minimum age is 7 years old up. You can only have one passenger in the truck at a time. If you have a couple kids or your wife rides with you, just one at a time can do it, but you need to have an authorization form for each person, and it is $11 a month for each person. So be sure and get with Safety on that and give them a heads up if you want to take somebody riding with you this summer.
Spin off real quick. I know you're talking about the passenger ride, but also good to let dispatch know when you got kids riding along with these summer months going on there too. So we do have a few facilities, not many, but a few facilities where it can have non-CDL passengers. So
good point.
Be a good thing. Make sure dispatch knows on that. Update them. We can work with it, when we're in a short time frame like that, a week or whatever they're doing, riding along. A lot of times you get kids want to ride along with dad.
So you got some customers that won't allow passengers to go in.
Yeah. Right.
Good point. Good point. Need to know that for sure. Okay, well, Shane starts it off then. I got Shane Smith with me, Nick Crisco also. These guys have been on here before. It's been a while probably, but just a quick, Shane, who you are, where you from, how long you been at Oakley?
Shane Smith, been here at Oakley Trucking just a little over 24 years. Worked dispatch, worked recruiting for a little while, back at dispatch and operation side of it. Scheduling, booking freight, trying to coordinate and keep up with customer service.
Good deal. Got a family?
Got a family. Got a wife. We just celebrated 20 years here just about 3 weeks ago. Got through that. Got 2 kids. Boy going to be a senior this year. And baby girl just turned 16 here last week. And she's about 20-something.
Yeah, things are changing 16, there.
It's changing. Got 2 drivers. We're trying to figure out how to shuffle cars in the driveway now with a full family of 4 there.
What about you, Nick?
Nick Crisco, operations manager on the dump side. I've been here about 15 and a half years. Fleet manager, managed trucks for about 10 years. I've been doing this since the beginning of 2018. I have 2 boys that are 9 and 2. Their actually birthdays are this weekend, both of them. So we've got a different.
Know what you're doing
hectic
this weekend?
Yeah. Yep. So we've got a different set of obstacles that Shane's dealing with, but yeah.
How long you been married?
11 years.
Good.
So, yeah.
Coming on.
Well, yep.
And I guess to tell our listeners, I mean, these guys are both heavily in the dumps, the end dump freight. Basically because today I sent out an email trying to get some volunteers of the operation guys to get up here with me, and they were the 2 of the volunteers to do it, both do dumps. So we'll get to pneumatics, maybe another episode, or hoppers to talk a little bit more about that. But it kind of all goes together. I mean, it all, hauling a lot of the same freight. So a lot of it really, when you talk about one of them, it covers pretty much all of them. So, and we've got, 875 owner-operators now, probably, 450 end dumps? How many dumps we got?
It's
probably
pushing,
about 450.
Right at 430.
Yeah,
end
and
dumps.
then 200 tanks, and then whatever left to be the hoppers, 220 or something like that. So, a good fleet. So the majority of it is, dumps are twice the size of everything else. Yeah, half the company. So that's all good, man. So let's just get right to it and talk about some freight. I mean, here we are midway of 2023. I will go on out there and say we've probably had a better year than we thought. Back in January of 2023, we were going, oh my gosh, what is this year going to be like? Because we came off of a great year last year. And I'm not just talking about company-wise. I'm talking about owner-operator-wise too. So what you guys, the evaluation of so far in 2023 that we're doing now?
We're definitely seeing some competition out there coming in as far as price-wise. It's getting while it's still very busy, like you said, was last year, really the last 2 years, 21 and 22, we're still busy, I would say. But there has seemed to be a little settling in the market, I guess, that post-COVID couple years, when it was just crazy. Industry-wide, not just us, every trucking company, or a lot of them from what you'd gather. Some of that seems to have settled. You read things and hear things and talk to customers about just kind of rates and being some settling there in competition, but we're staying very busy. I mean, it's not if a guy's having to wait for a load, it shouldn't be too long. I mean, we're clipping along pretty good. There may be an hour or two here and there where some things change and we have to piece something together. But for the most part, I mean, wait times and unloading and going to the next load or clicking along still very smooth. Shane and I actually visited some customers up in Ohio a couple weeks ago, and that's what we asked them, just kind of what their pulse was on what's the rest of the year look like, et cetera, and got pretty positive feedback from all of them saying they don't see it slowing down. They see it being pretty steady the rest of the year. Their orders are already placed out, we just kind of like to fill them out and ask, I do, just kind of seeing if it's what they saying, if it's gloom and doom or if it's boom.
Do they believe the news, or like us, we just keep working?
Positive. The ones that we talked to seemed to be thought it would just continue on kind of as it has been, So
that's some of our big customers.
That was encouraging. Good. Yeah, some of our bigger customers. So
it's funny the question you come about. I think the last time I did a podcast was on that. After we'd come through, finished up a big year, gone through. Trying to predict the future, and I think I was trying to be a forecaster, very optimistic at the time because things hadn't slowed down. But it's what goes up must come down type of attitude at the time. And 6 months later, if this is down, that's good.
It's good, isn't it?
It is good. It is busy. We get a lot of calls. Still got a lot of demand out there for a lot of people. There has been some competition side, so a little settling of the market on that side.
You talking about with competition, just people cutting our rates or
getting calls, getting inquiry on prices. Somebody else is coming into it, so either they've had something let up and getting into something else, or felt a little crunch and cutting some pricing here and there. But that's market. That's the game that you're in. So
I mean, we've had these conversations for 15, 25 plus, whatever. I mean, we've had them for a long time, going up and down. But it's really, I know it's scary when it is good, because you are just waiting for the letdown. But hey, let's ride it while we can.
But you got to enjoy good when it's good.
You got to enjoy good. You cannot be making yourself miserable because at some point it's going to go away. Well, that's you forget to enjoy while it's good. Right. So we got to enjoy while it's good. So
that's right. That is right.
I'd put a note down here to put it in perspective of how many loads we do, on a weekly or monthly basis. Did you guys have a chance to look that up?
I did. Over the last, I just used kind of the last 6 weeks snapshot. We're, as a total company, we're averaging about 2,900 loads a week. That's company wide, and 1,400 a week or so on the dump side. So that kind of ties in line with our truck numbers, saying about half dumps and about 2,900 a week total company. So
that's a lot of loads.
It's a lot of loads.
Yeah.
There's a lot of owner-operators loading the wagon, unloading it, and picking up another one.
Yeah, I was looking at the same thing, and the numbers where I was coming up, same thing, and seeing this high, depending on where you got barges going on, it works into that count and that skew. But, seeing highs of 33 and some change maybe in there, at times.
Yeah.
But, yeah, around that 29.
A lot of loads being hauled.
Every week.
Every week.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to wrap your head around how many that really is. It's a lot. Well, and we get moving parts.
And rightfully so, we get upset when one of them goes wrong. Because we're going to have that. But you kind of got to put it in perspective. When you're doing 2,900 loads a week, you're going to have one go wrong. Something, whether it's bad as you hate it, but something's going to screw up for sure. So talking about loads per week, let's just go straight into let's get to the hard part here about hauling the weight, because I've had a few calls from owner-operators going, hey, what's going on? All of a sudden I'm getting...
I was wondering why that question come up, where you come up with it.
I thought I'd just get it out there. Let's just get it out there. But, I've had a couple calls about that because we've talked about it in meetings and stuff, and here lately it's been a topic of we kind of, it's our own fault, of letting it slide, not hauling the weight on the loads that we can. We know not every one you can, but the ones that we can need to be. So I think it's just to our owner-operators out there that are all of a sudden been doing all this for a long time, and then all of a sudden we're changing it of, hey, we need you to go back and get some more. That's not enough when it has been okay in the past. It's just a thing. I mean, I want y'all to explain it more than me, but to me, it's just a thing that we emphasize right now and are trying to do a better job about it. Y'all want to elaborate a little bit on that?
Well, just like you said, and where we're trying to get better on it, on that side of it also, is talking about it, not, hey, go back and get some more on, but talking to our guys and communicating with during dispatch of what expectations are, what our needs are of getting a load on when you go into. Having a lot of conversations, same as you, talking to guys. We are preaching it. We're a bulk hauling company, so what we do majority of the time is by the ton. We do have some flat rates that go along in there, but majority of the stuff is by the ton. So, you're billing it out, you've got X number of dollars a ton, and it goes through there, and all right, well, here's how much money you can make off a load, and the operator is out there running so many empty miles, so many loaded miles, and that equates to a specific dollar amount for however much is loaded and empty, and that cost is fixed. And it doesn't get there, so it's here. So, in order for us, especially in more competitive times, but always, any money or any weight that is hauled there, it generates more money. And that's what we push for. We're a bulk hauling company, and we get paid by the ton. So we try to generate more money, and like we've talked about before, and how it comes across in bonuses, where we pay annual bonus every year, that increases a penny every year that it comes along. I mean, that's generated through what we do, how we haul, where we're making money or whether we're not making money. That's where bonuses are generated. And so going back, trying on our side, trying to preach it up front going in. So when we go into a customer, what we're looking for and asking for is going into a customer, you hit the scale, you get a lightweight when you pull across that scale, and if you're whatever the number is, if you're 31,000, on some of these dumps, hoppers go into 29, everybody's different. Every truck's different, every division's different, but you get a lightweight, then what we're shooting for on gross is, we're trying to reach 80,000 pounds. No, you're not going to get 80,000, but trying to get towards the top of that goal, because we want to strive to do our best. We're going to work to do our dead level best in here. We want to try to work and get our dead level best out there, keep generating profits. It's the way that we've always talked about it in here. When we generate more money, everybody gets more money.
Yeah, I mean, he's spot on. I can't, add a whole lot more than what he said, but the emphasis, like he said, is we're trying to get more proactive on the front end. It's not by design to come back after you said, because the difficulties of going in and loading and calling and then be like, no, I need you to go get more. Know that is very inconvenient and difficult. Trying to keep it on the forefront of everybody's mind, like, when you're going in to load, try to get us a good load on, because there's a big trickle-down effect to that. There's how we pay, what we pay, how we do what we do, when you're going right back talking about 2,900, 3,300 loads a week. Now, obviously not all of those are per ton, but more are than not for certain, and you start adding an extra 500 to 1,000 pounds and putting a pencil to it, it's eye-opening, so dispatch, ideally needs to be talking about that on the front end. There are obviously examples that are 22-ton orders, or may it be a special order, a 15-ton order, a load of scrap, like you said, loads that you can and can't get the weight on, that's sure. But there's a number of them that are, and we really started looking into it, and this, like you said, it's been going on for a long time. But you really start looking into it, and it's a point of emphasis that we're trying to drive home the right way without it making it as difficult on the guys out there actually loading the trailer, so.
And like you said, you're getting some calls, communication on it, and it has been a bigger promotion or a bigger focus on our side and through our meetings. How things go in cycles. We loosen up here where we need to tighten up. We're doing that. But as far as a good response, we're getting calls back on our side of it too, with owner operators out there going in and and making a phone call in, and hey, they're only loading me at 77.5. They said the order only called for this much and going through. So that side is working. Guys are out there doing it, taking care of us, and and asking the questions and trying to get it on, and and appreciate that side of it too. It's good feedback, because there are certain orders that are, they don't want to put on, but they have a lot and they're finishing a lot, or they're making a blend and they're only going to put so much on it because they're allocating. But then there's some of them that there's a mountain of it out there, and you can get all you can get. And if you can get it all done in 20 loads as opposed to 22 loads, then customer wants to see that.
Yeah, and the other thing is we're a little disadvantaged because we're all owner operators. So we have a lot of different tractor weights, buying their own tractor for whatever the reasons they want. Our competition the majority of our competition is either lightweight company trucks and trailers that look about half as good as our stuff looks and our owner-operators look, for sure. And you're fighting that, too, because they can give a cheaper rate because they can haul 25-ton, with a company truck. So, yeah, so you're fighting that deal every time when you're talking about rates. So that when you got the competition doing that, we're in an owner-operator position. That's what we have. We pay by the mile. That's what we do. And guys get aggravated. I know if they got to go back, get more, and we're it's just going to have to happen at some point. We don't want you to, waste a half a day and all this kind of stuff, but we just need you to try. And a lot of them do. Great job. But we just need some of them. I mean, that's what they signed up to do, was gross as close to 80,000 as you can get. I'll tell you this. It's a little. I don't mean to get negative, but my only negative comment is, what if we paid them by the ton on that load? Now, do you think they'd come out there with 77,000 if we paid that owner operator by the ton?
No, normally you have to ask them to cut it off. You can't haul more than 81.
Yeah, most time they're going over and bypassing the scales. I'm just kidding. I'm just saying. I just want to get my point across there.
Sure,
I mean, with everything else you guys are saying, I mean that's the business model we have, is paid by the mile. We just got to have a little more effort, and we're going to keep emphasizing it to get a little bit more, weight on there without it being such a big inconvenience to somebody. But it's going to help us in the long run with the customers getting more freight. It's going to help everybody. It helps us be able to pay the loaded mile bonus, the freight surcharge. I mean, it just, we're leaving money on the table.
Right.
So
one thing you mentioned that I did talk about, we're not trying to cause an inconvenience. We're not wanting to, go back and get more. So the part of it we're talking about on the communication and the proactive side of it is up front. And, when as an owner operator, your part when they come in, when you roll in on the scale, some of these places that we go into, you pull in, you hit the scale, they'll give you a lightweight, and then the question is, how much do you want? So right there is the time to hit it, be proactive, do the math. My lightweight is this. Here's 80. Give myself the cushion, to make sure you get it right. And, every location is different, but some places can load you within 50 to 100 pounds of what you're asking. Some places, some belts are old and archaic, and you might be 1,000-pound swing either side or more in cases. So, every location is different, but being proactive and being up front, when you pull on the scale, you get a lightweight. How much do you want on there, Oakley? The question comes across the CB. That's the point, to get it, because when you call back in and it's 78, then we're going to be saying, hey,
yep,
we need to go get some more.
Which is a good segue into communication with your dispatcher. And, that's something that we've talked about for years. We have the no texting policy, where dispatch is not supposed to be texting the owner-operator. What does communication, what's the ideal communication like for owner-operator and dispatcher?
Well, for years before the Qualcomm, we always, in the old orientation room, there was a sign up there, check call 7 to 9 and 3 to 5. And that has certainly gotten more lax due to the Qualcomm and the GPS, which is understandable. But, I mean, ideally, and we had a meeting on this around lunchtime today because we had some issues today, we still, ideally, you check in the morning, and just because we can see where guys are, it doesn't mean we know the whole story, what's going on, obviously, or what they're dealing with. So, we still need to hear by 9 o'clock in the mornings, ideally, from everybody. Or if you've run till 1 a.m. or 2 a.m., you're going to be sleeping, leave the dispatcher a voicemail saying, hey, this is my spot. I'm going to probably be sleeping till, I'll be ready to go from here, X. And then, throughout the day, as things change, delays, whatever, traffic, check in again in the afternoons from 3 to 5, 2 to 4, somewhere in there. It could be something as easy as it could be 20 seconds. Just hey, I'm still on track. I'm looking to what's tomorrow looking like, and the dispatch may not know. It may just say, hey, we're looking at possibility of X, or this is what I've got you planned on. If something goes wrong, please let me know tonight. Or do you think this is doable? If it's not doable on your side, then we can take them off the plan. That way we're not blindsided in the mornings when, we go to dispatch.
Do they look? Do they not look? Because they can look and see where that's got them pinged at, where the truck is. Does that help any?
It does help for quick answers a lot of times, Jeremy. You can go on that map and pull it up and see about a location. But the part that we don't see, the great part of the phone call is it still doesn't give, hey, I've been running all night to get to this point where I'm at now, or, hey, I'm at this point now and traffic is something, or truck isn't acting right. You don't get all the – you can see a location, you can see where they are, but it doesn't give you the whole background. You
can assume
story.
A lot too.
And you can and that's where it gets dangerous. Yeah, I look at it and go, hey, man, we're close, He's 20 minutes out, but that doesn't. Are we 20 minutes out? Are we moving, or are we 20 minutes out waiting on however many hour break? A lot of different factors that go in there. That still that phone call, that communication, that check in, gives us such a better pulse on what's happening.
Oakley Trucking is a 100% owner-operator company. We specialize in hopper bottom, end dump, and pneumatic trailers. We provide the trailer free of charge, and you provide the truck. We have a large customer base that reaches the whole United States as well as parts of Canada. Our owner-operators live anywhere from Texas to North Carolina to Pennsylvania to Wisconsin and everywhere in between, and we get them home weekends. We take it seriously when you join Oakley Trucking because we need you to be successful. Oakley offers great benefits and competitive mileage pay, so you know that when your wheels are turning, you're generating money no matter if you're loaded or empty. We understand that you want to make a good living and that you make our living. We only take on independent contractors, and to be honest with you, we are very particular on who we lease on. You must have a good driving record, good work history, and clean, dependable truck. So if you're interested in Oakley Trucking or just want some more information, you can go to oakleytrucking.com, listen to our weekly podcast, The Oakley Podcast, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. How do y'all manage the dispatcher? Communicating with the owner-operator. We know owner-operator needs to call in, tell us what's going on, but we also got to, I know we've had multiple conversations and meetings about the way a dispatcher talks to an owner-operator.
Again, talk about planning up front. We try to do that in the beginning with your very jump start in orientation of what we're looking for, what we're expecting. We do that when a dispatcher will sit down with owner-operator, kind of cover everything at that point, or reemphasizing a lot of the same information that they just heard in orientation. That we communicate with our guys, and to get back to the answer that you're looking at, with dispatch, we ask them to cover it with them every day. Every day, go through all the expectations on load times, points, pickups. Because
dispatch procedure, that's what we call it.
Dispatch procedure, that's right. If that's the behind the scene, and it's a list, it's got a lot to cover because there's a lot of detail. There's a lot of things that go into 3,000 loads a week. There's a lot of steps because we talk about that big number and how good it looks, but that one load is if it's
can take a lot of it.
If it's your one load, then that's the only load that matters.
Yep.
It don't matter about the other 2,900 or whatever, you're averaging that week, so each load is important. Each one has its own detail, that it goes through. We got a lot of places that guys see the same place over and over multiple times in a week or multiple times in a month, but then we have a lot of one-offs also, or things changing, where we have to give because a scale is down, we got to go through a different gate, or there's always something changing. It's not what we normally do. Assume it's the same old thing and get in there.
Yeah, they can give us problems if we're not on our top of the game every time we go into these places.
Every time.
Is any specific scenarios of either good communication or bad communication, so people could kind of weigh that out. Our listeners, our owner operators could kind of see, oh, this is okay. That's bad. Okay, should be done like this. Do you have any?
Well, not singular examples, just kind of tying to what we were talking about earlier today. Was just some situations that could have been avoided by communication between the owner operator and the dispatcher in the afternoon the day prior, and talking about the next day, kind of what's on the agenda, because that what it does, it does a lot of things, but it prevents service failures, prevents bad plans, guys that can't, or maybe we've got them planned on something that they can't realistically do or legally do when you figure in a 10-hour break.
You saying we get over ambitious sometimes and plan them on
once or twice. It has happened before. Yeah. So, and then it helps maximize their output, their money. If we know, the more communication we have on, hey, this is where I think I'm going to make it, this is where I'm going to be starting from, as opposed to just kind of coming in and checking it out on the Qualcomm and saying, and just start shooting from the hip, Yeah. It helps generate more money for the guy out there on the road, and it helps us prevent service failures. And I think the afternoon check call is something that we've gotten away from a lot with the Qualcomm. And it's not all bad by any means. It's just there are times that things change throughout the day, and I think sometimes maybe guys have the misconception, well, you can see me on the Qualcomm, but we don't.
But when you were dispatching, you went down your guys at the end of every day,
yeah, they were highlighted. That was, everybody had their, you highlight the guy. That's when you knew that everything was taken care of till the next day. Or I'd talk to him this afternoon, and he knows the plan for tomorrow. He's highlighted.
Yep,
that was the
go to the next one that's not highlighted.
Yeah,
I need to get so and so on the phone because
I know I've talked to him today. He's good to go till in the morning.
Okay,
so
check him off.
That's right.
Yeah. That way you're confident in what's happening. So, well, we just always, anytime you're communicating with people, it's a constant battle to, especially over the phone, of taking it the wrong way. But it's a whole lot better than text. That can be taken so many wrong ways, or email or that kind of stuff. We actually had a guy in here a week or two ago that's the only way he wanted to communicate was texting and emailing, and we had to terminate his lease because we was like, no, we've got to talk to you.
Right.
And he didn't want to talk to us. Now, I cannot imagine somebody not wanting to talk to us. But, we said, hey, man, well, you need to go somewhere that does that because we're not doing that here. We got to talk to you and communicate with you so we're all on the same page and can feel that you're doing, right. We're not pushing you. We want to be safety first type deal.
You bet.
Because I know dispatch takes that in consideration a lot on we doing things the safe way.
And it's like we talked about or led into a little bit earlier, but you lose all of that in firing it over on the Qualcomm Geotab. That thing is great. It beat the days of spelling out
write
everything.
Down,
you need to go to this location. This is it. Give a phone number, write it down. Some of the places are with the names that we do, spelling them out and going through. It is nice to hit a button and click and get all that information in there. But that part of it is good, but the communication, the verbal side of it is when we're talking to somebody about it is, there's two people here. This is what we're seeing as a dispatch. Hey, this is what I want you to go do, and you hear it on the other end as owner operator. Yeah, that's no problem. Or, man, there ain't no way I can get all that done. Whatever it is. So that side of it is the communication has to be, and it clarifies a whole lot of things. It eliminates a lot of problems. Yeah. We will ask guys from time to time situations in yard to dump world. If we're into scrap or into a facility that's tight, hey, get us some pictures and send them to me. But we're not texting you. We're not going to send out anything to you via text. We'll talk to you on the phone, ask you to send us pictures so we'll have them and send them in to us.
What about last thing I want to cover real quick is customer service, and we're big on that. We preach it in recruiting department. I preach it when I go into orientation. I think you guys for sure preach it down there in dispatch too. But what's some ways we can improve on customer service? I mean, when you sell, you go to these customers you were talking to in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and they're telling you it looks good for the rest of the year. What do they expect from us?
Man, really and truly, the customer service side of it, the simple of it is back to the communicate. But communicate if it's not going to happen. The general, if dispatch gives a load to you, we're going here, we hit a time frame. A lot of times it's 7 to 3. Sometimes, hey, we got to be there at 9 o'clock in order to get this on or get this off. But when we go through, we dispatch is making sure when you see a problem on your end that it ain't going to make that window. When you see that, the communication back to us to let us know is awesome, because we can, at that point, you can notify a customer, because we always use the example in our meetings of talking through is imagine yourself sitting there and you're waiting on the UPS truck to bring whatever it is to you, or the cable man is always our prime example. They're going to be here in this window, and you take off and you're there and you're waiting on this product, and lo and behold, that time comes and he's not there, and you've set a 3-hour window or a 4-hour window to get it. It makes you red under the collar. And you didn't make the call. Where so many times a simple phone call, if it's not good news, it's okay. If you communicate with a customer where they can move on or make other plans, it goes a long way in customer service side. So they're not sitting there waiting. They know, hey, this isn't coming today, or this is going to be here at this time today, and they can make plans and do something else besides sitting around there waiting on you, waiting on Oakley to show up with it, and that's one thing we preach. It's one thing we constantly work on communicating with. Just notify when something goes off the schedule, and know at that time we need the communication from the operator to the dispatch, and then dispatch has got to get it to the customer or the customer service representative that's handling that account. Somebody needs to be informed so we can pass that information. You had talked earlier about some of that, maybe examples of going through there, and I think we talked about some of that today.
We have a lot of customers that you feel spoiled in a way, because they just send the orders. They just send here's next week's order, here's 5 X to X, but it's because they know what they're getting, and it's because we do all of that, and and if there is something go wrong, then we pick up the phone and call them, and let them know, because more times than not, people are going to understand that things happen as long as you let them know. Doesn't mean they might not be happy about it, but at least they know that you're trying to do right and trying to let them know that there is a problem, rather than just sweeping it under the rug and hope nobody notices. We've never operated that way, and people can sense that. So that's goes right back to the communication, to all that. And that's what you hear, that when you go out and visit the customers face to face. That they, Oakley, there's a number of reasons. Our equipment, like you touched on earlier, is top notch. There's a lot that goes into who's hired on, and we're not the cheapest. They hire us because they want a good product, and they know what they're getting with us, So we were told the other day, so they're taking up bids. They say we automatically throw the lowest one out, because we know that ain't ever going to happen, So that goes back into, trickle down into what we pay and on the weight and all that, because we are able to get a lot of business from being able to provide that service and having guys that are dependable and good communication.
And every one of those things equals service on that side of it. And the residual of that is when you provide it, you're hauling the weights, you're showing up there, great, a lot of good comments for only our operators that are getting that. Equipment looks good, best looking trucks out here on the road, and you know, we get so many good looking appearance comments for the operator coming into those facilities. You know, clean, good attitudes coming in. I mean,
so you're telling me customer service works?
It works.
Good customer service works, really?
Yes, it works. As I'm gonna say, if we had to produce every bit of it, well, I'll talk for myself. If I had to produce every bit of it on that side, I would probably come a little short. But all those pieces that go along there every day that comes about, it creates it to where you take care of a customer, you do it, and they send it to you to do it again and to do it again and to do it again.
Yeah.
And that's what you want.
Yeah.
Taking care of it.
That feels good to get some good customer service. It's I catch ourselves a lot of times talking about certain, you know, bad instances that happen, and we seem to amplify those. Customers seem to amplify those. Safety amplifies that stuff that happens, but the majority of Oakley owner-operators does everything right. The majority of the owner-operators here, they haul the weight. They communicate with dispatch. They are good with customers because they'll call me and ratting out a guy that is not doing right with customers. You know, either appearance, truck, trailer, not sweeping it out, breaking line, whatever it is. I mean, I'll have guys call me and say, this guy's not representing us well, because that means a lot to me, because the majority of our guys are proud of our standards, are proud to work at a company that wants to provide good customer service. So I think, you know, when we say these things to a lot of people, whether it's appearance or hauling the weight or customer service, I mean, you know, we're talking to a small percentage of the owner-operator Oakley fleet, because the majority of them do things, I mean, to the T and even above and beyond what we can do. You know, we get so many comments from customers on how people take care of them and do things right, and it just those ones that do that are the ones that need praising.
You bet. They make it for us every day, and you know, and those guys that you talk about that do call, because they know when they have bought in, and they know when you give that service and you get it again. And you know, and if somebody's not, then I might not get that load because he didn't do it the way that they wanted, you know. And it really is. What we talk about on what we do, it is a small percentage of these loads that go through. It's not meant to pick. It's not meant to harp. But, you know, we talk about, we strive to be the best and to be the best out there. And the owner-operators that we have get us there. It's not all these folks in this office. I mean, everybody has to do a part, but the people out there in front of them, so many customers that we never see. It's every one of the owner operators that see them. That's the face of Oakley Trucking that takes care of it. And that's who they see.
And they've made it to where you can go up to Ohio, Pennsylvania, Texas, wherever, and you can sit in front of that customer and you're confident what you're selling is going to roll into that drive, what's into that.
Yeah, that would not be a good feeling to be on the other side of that.
Yeah, wouldn't that not?
Trying to sell a bad product.
That would be horrible. So
no.
Right.
So yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, we tend to touch on the mishaps, but it is just because, I mean, if you don't address it, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know, but so much more good than bad goes on, you know, so it's not meant to come across that way, but it's just an improvement. The dispatch procedure, like you mentioned earlier, it's always a ongoing joke that there was a lot of mistakes that invented that thing,
yes.
you know, so that's if constant coaching to try to just avoid mistakes we've made in the past.
Yeah. Wasn't all just ideas that come from failures.
Right.
In times past, how it come about.
Well, great, guys. I appreciate y'all hanging with me this afternoon. I know you got to get down there and wrap things up on a Friday afternoon and good, but hey, good information. I think it's authentic information from y'all that you can tell your sincerity of preaching it and want to be working with everybody. So it's great, man. So thanks for coming up here.
Yes,
and doing
sir.
this.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate everybody out there listening to us on the Oakley Podcast. It's try to bring you some good stuff every week, best we can, and give you information for you to be successful as an owner-operator here at Oakley. So thanks for listening. Be sure to check us out on all the platforms. Just search the Oakley Podcast. You can go to YouTube, leave comments. Let me know what you got on your mind and what you want to hear from us. We appreciate you once again, and we'll talk to you next week.